Hey folks, so this topic is still, I think it's still a little sensitive for me, but I'll still talk about it. And it's about my dyslexia. Started out in nursery. I didn't think anything of it because I was this little kid. But letters, my reading, when I was reading, I felt like my eyes couldn't stay in the line and just things were jumping around. Or the letters would jump and things like that. Nothing too much to report there because I don't think anybody spotted anything different. Maybe my parents already had a feeling. Now remember, this was when people didn't know about ADHD, they didn't know about dyslexia, they didn't know about all these things. So they just thought, yeah, something wrong. Something's like, I was just very rambunctious. A lot of energy, got lost everywhere, and at some point it stressed my parents so much that they knew I would end up finding my way home or whatever it was. Over to primary. This is when I start noticing things more. Letters are jumbling more. All my classmates, they can read a whole sentence and they can understand that sentence in one go. In my case, I could register each letter. I could register the sequence of those letters. The understanding wasn't happening until I read it a few times, thought about it, this and that. So I didn't like reading a lot. And I used to tell my mom, used to tell everybody, I just like books with pictures. I just like looking at pictures. And they are like some of the most important pictures in my life are from the Gita. I might share them here because just staring at them, you get so much understanding that words cannot describe as well as those pictures can. So then my mom started getting me some books with more pictures and things like that, and she would try and get me to read things every now and then, and I really enjoyed the Willard Price adventure series. The books, the letters were thick, the pages were whatever, but still, I would read a paragraph or I would get past, and then I would have to go back to these paragraphs and read again and again to get an understanding. And now I started getting angry because I knew I was pretty clever. I figured out so many ways to figure out math problems. Say like there's 3 methods of learning, figuring out the answer to something, and in the first lesson you learn one way. By that first lesson I would have figured out either the second or third way, and then when I learned the third way, I'm like, I'm a genius, I knew this, and nobody else in my class knew it. Oh well, 1 or 2 people would, but your thinking is very different when you're dyslexic. And I used to get pissed off because I was starting to get treated like a dumbass, and at some point just me and another classmate were picked to do some tests. They're like, oh, okay, you figure out this, you figured out that. And I think just as I was about to finish primary, this whole thing about recognizing dyslexia and ADHD was coming into the school. So I missed that. Getting to high school, I skived most of high school, just walked over to the girls' school just to be closer to them. Got into alcohol problems and all kinds of things, and then I went to work. Things carried on, and then when I moved to UK, I finally started reading more and more about this thing called dyslexia, and it got me so angry. I was so angry. I had so much anger. A lot of my issues come down to maybe 3 things, and dyslexia was one of them. Because it was missed my whole life. Most of my formative years was missed. So I think what really triggered me was this movie called Tare Zameen Par, where this magical teacher helps this guy with dyslexia because he sees all these drawings and animations. And it's a very nice movie. It just pissed me off because there was no teacher like that in my life. I had some very amazing teachers, and none of them figured out or helped understand me. Most of my report cards, it's like, he has potential if only he focuses, if only he pays attention, if only he does this. My leaders, the people I look up to, for leading me, educating me. They're the ones who are supposed to figure that out for me. I was a kid. How was I supposed to know? So that's where that whole anger thing happened. Then I started working in the prisons, in the education department, and a big thank you to Marie King, because by now I was starting to slowly open up about it. I was feeling like such a complex, because when I shared it with my cousin, I still felt like, even though she accepted it, she didn't judge me, you have this low self-esteem, you have this sense of shame, and you don't know how to deal with this. So I told my cousin, because we used to work together and the barcodes would switch. So MK299 would be MK929 and things like that. So I would have to re-switch them in my head, because I knew which ones it would be. Or if I get a migraine or headache or something, instead of saying Panadol, I'll ask the pharmacy for Dunlop. You know? When I'm driving in city, that is the worst, because I get anxious, I get lost for sure. And Australian roads, I don't know who's planned them, but they are the worst. Roads appear out of nowhere in the middle of a 5-lane highway, just suddenly turn 6. Watch that movie, then Marie King. Check this out. She just told me, she's like, are you left-handed? Yes. Did you get into some kind of arts? Are you later in your life, did you become very organized? Later in your life, did you start reading, thinking you needed to catch up? She predicted so many things. I still haven't been professionally diagnosed, because it's so frustrating just to find the right person. Then you have to pay thousands. I already know what I have. I already know how to deal with it, because I've dealt with it for 40 plus years now. And I've come to that acceptance now. A lot of that anger was also because the people in my life who I thought looked out for me or were supposed to do that are the ones who told me that I was not. So one parent told me I'm not diploma material, and now I have 2 diplomas. So I kind of figured out that it wasn't an issue to do with me, but it was an issue to do with them. And I made a separate video on forgiveness. Another family member refused to even acknowledge that a thing like dyslexia and ADHD existed. It's like, I don't believe in that. And again, it wasn't an issue to do with me, it was an issue with them. You have to deal with these kind of people. Even now, I've opened up a lot more about dyslexia, but every now and then it hits a sore spot, because I'll see a sign, I'll read something, and it'll be pretty obvious, but I'll have to hide behind jokes. And if you're a class clown, noisemaker, all that, it's because you have one of these things that you're trying to hide, and you don't want people to know, so you hide behind all these jokes, you hide behind all these silliness. I do love reading, so people who have dyslexia, I'm always sharing tips and tricks in the comments, because I've figured out my favorite way of understanding and reading is having the ebook ready, and either getting the PDF or the reader to speak the text to me, or getting an audiobook and reading and listening at the same time. That's one of my favorites. Ebooks, audiobooks are really good also. I think that would be the best way to go. But I'll share a link about 12 ways of learning. Understand your reading style, understand your education style, how you take in things. Because my favorite is videos and audio. Videos more than audio, because I like the visual and the audio at the same time. Yours could be kinesthetic, yours could be different things. But it's very strange how being dyslexic will take you on very specific paths. And the sooner you know, the sooner you can go on those paths, because life will be much easier for you. Right now, I'm in jobs where it's not dyslexia friendly, but I've learned so many tricks. Touch typing was one of the biggest tricks that has helped me. It is not even a trick. It was just, I was playing this game where you learn touch typing, which is called Mavis Beacon. Links in the description. Copy and paste is always a favorite to me because I don't have to remember all these strange letters and numbers and combinations. I would suggest seeing what works for you best. Different classes you can try. There's so many different accommodations, and this is the other thing. You will have naturally picked up on what works for you without knowing it. So you just need to understand that and play into it more, invest into those things more. Always get support. I still don't share too much about my dyslexia just with anyone and everyone because they don't need to know. Right now my boss doesn't need to know because she doesn't see me struggling with anything. We all make our same silly mistakes, and if it's really serious and you need accommodations, then obviously you do need. Every workplace by now should have something for you, some kind of accommodation for you. Remember this much, I do not call it a learning disability, I call it a learning uniqueness. Everything you're doing it in a different way, from a different spectrum of the whole kaleidoscope of different people. You're just doing it in such a different way, and because of that you have a very special genius that people without dyslexia don't have. I can figure things out, I can predict things. Sometimes I wish I bet money on it because I'm so on the money with all these things. I don't know about other dyslexics, but in my case I've been able to predict the future because of the sequences I've seen. I've been able to figure out certain things or certain solutions using simple things. Like, there's these stories of how the kid, say, take out the air pressure from the truck in the wheels so it can go down the bridge instead of taking out the bridge and everything, or how you can just use a pencil instead of using so much money and investing into a special pen to use in space. If you're dealing with shame about it, if you're dealing with low self-esteem, I'll share a link to some audiobooks, and they are audiobooks. It's all about how to take back power from blaming other people who have shamed you, getting that self-confidence, improving your self-esteem, because it will really help you. I walked around like I didn't deserve a lot of things for at least the first 3 decades of my life. And if you have people in your life who make you feel worse about it, you need to get away from them. Well, that's it for this video, and I shall